I've been hearing about Amazon Redshift, but what is it?
Amazon Redshift is a fast, fully managed, petabyte-scale data warehouse service.
What does that mean?
It means Amazon Redshift provides a simple and cost-effective way to analyze all your data using existing business intelligence BI tools and SQL clients, regardless of the size of your data.
Great! My data warehouse is starting to get slow because there's so much data. Can Amazon Redshift handle this?
Yes, Amazon Redshift is designed to handle datasets from a few hundred gigabytes to a petabyte or more.
Nice! But will it be expensive?
It costs less than $1,000 per terabyte per year, roughly 10 times less than traditional data warehouse solutions.
Okay. So how does it process all that data so fast?
It uses columnar storage technology in a massively parallel processing architecture to parallelize and distribute data and queries across multiple nodes, consistently delivering high performance at any volume of data.
What about columnar storage? Can you tell me exactly what that is?
Columnar storage for database tables is an important factor in optimizing analytic query performance because it drastically reduces the amount of data you need to load from disk, and consequently, the amount of I/O performed to execute queries.
Okay. Does that mean I need to use different BI tools to query the data?
No, Amazon Redshift is ANSI SQL compliant and uses industry-standard ODBC and JDBC connections. So, the BI tools and SQL clients you currently use with your existing data warehouse will work seamlessly with Amazon Redshift.
So what does Amazon Redshift manage on my behalf?
Amazon Redshift handles all the data warehouse management activities for you, from provisioning the infrastructure to automating ongoing administrative tasks, such as backups and patching. Amazon Redshift continuously monitors your cluster and automatically recovers from disk and drive failures.
What if I want to resize my cluster to accommodate more data and usage? Do I have to follow an extensive upgrade process like I do today? This involves taking the data warehouse offline, upgrading hardware, and then bringing it back online again.
With Amazon Redshift, scaling is just a few clicks in the console. Amazon Redshift takes care of resizing the cluster without any downtime for read access. Just add more nodes and Redshift automatically adds those nodes to your cluster and redistributes your data for maximum performance. No tuning is needed to maintain performance or speed. Amazon Redshift handles all that for you.
And how do I access my running data warehouse cluster?
Once your data warehouse cluster is available, you can retrieve its endpoint and JDBC and ODBC connection strings from the AWS Management Console or by using the Amazon Redshift APIs. You can then use this connection string with your favorite database tool, programming language, or business intelligence tool. You will need to authorize network requests to your running data warehouse cluster.
Great! So, how does Amazon Redshift protect my data?
Amazon Redshift replicates all the data in your data warehouse when it's loaded. It also continuously backs up your data to Amazon S3, so you have at least 3 copies of your data: the original, a replica on the compute nodes, and a backup in Amazon S3. With Amazon Redshift, backups are incremental and restores are quick, with your most frequently accessed data streamed first. Amazon Redshift can also asynchronously replicate your snapshots to Amazon S3 in another region for disaster recovery.
Is Amazon Redshift secure?
Yes, encryption at rest and in transit are built in. Just switch it on and all your data and backups are automatically encrypted. By default, Amazon Redshift takes care of key management, but you can choose to manage your keys using your own hardware security modules, AWS Cloud HSM, or AWS Key Management Service. And if you want to use SSL or Amazon VPC, that's all built in too.
How can I move my data from on-premises to Amazon Redshift?
You can export your data from your current data warehouse solution and use AWS Direct Connect or AWS Import-Export to transfer large amounts of data securely into Amazon S3. You can then load the data from Amazon S3 into Amazon Redshift with a single line of code.
So, how do I get started with Amazon Redshift?
You can get started with the free 2-month trial. Simply sign up and launch your cluster within minutes from the AWS Management Console. Let me show you how easy it is to use Amazon Redshift by logging into my AWS account and taking you through a sample. I'll create a Redshift cluster, load some data, and show you some SQL queries of the data.
That would be great. Thanks.
Anyone can sign up for a free AWS account and use the AWS Management Console. Sign in to the AWS Management Console and open the Redshift console at this URL. Click Launch Cluster to open the Redshift Cluster Creation Wizard. In the Cluster Details page, enter details for Cluster Identifier, database name, port, and master username and password, as shown here. Click Continue to proceed to the Node Configuration page. In the Node Configuration page, the default settings should match the values shown here. Click Continue to move to the Additional Configuration page. In the Additional Configuration section, for the cluster parameter group, if an option is available, select default.redshift-1.0. Otherwise, leave it at the default. For the Encrypt Database option, select None. The database does not need to be encrypted for this tutorial. In the Configure Networking Options and Optional Settings sections, select security settings that will allow client access to the cluster, as shown here. Click Continue. Review the settings of the cluster that you are about to launch. When you are ready to create the cluster, click the Launch Cluster button at the bottom of the screen. The cluster may take a few minutes to generate.
Wow. So it's that simple to create a full data warehouse in Amazon Redshift. Do I need to configure security to be able to connect to my cluster?
Yes, there are a few things to consider when connecting to your cluster. Granting security group access, obtaining the correct access and secret keys to load and query data, and how you want to access your cluster. You can use the JDBC ODBC drivers or any BI tool that allows you to connect to your cluster endpoint. For this demo, we are using a web-based client, and we have already granted the required access. Let's start by loading some data. First, copy a SQL command to create a table in the command screen. Click the Execute button above the SQL command line window to execute this SQL script. The command should execute and display Executed Successfully in the Results section below the query. It is now possible to load some sample data from an S3 bucket. The region where the S3 bucket is located and the region of the Redshift cluster must be the same. Copy the Load Data SQL command to the command window and click Execute. Now that you have data in your Redshift database, you can query the data using SQL select statements and queries. Here is a simple select query on the user table. Click the Execute button again to execute the SQL command. Below the query window, we can see the results of the query, which can take a few seconds to execute. Now we will write a more detailed query to filter the results from the user table. Click the Execute button again to execute the SQL command, and see the results displayed below. Go to run.quicklabs.com to try it out with a free self-paced lab. While you're there, check out more free AWS introduction training to learn about more AWS products and services. You can play around without opening an account.